Hey guys, welcome back to ARTV, your guide to current events within the aesthetic industry. As always, I'm your host, Vivienne Echendu, the vendor relations specialist here at Aesthetic Record. Thanks for tuning back into another exciting episode where we continue supporting small businesses that are doing big things. And joining me today is nurse practitioner and founder of Moxie Aura Aesthetics and Wellness, Dr. Cristiani-Nguyen. Moxie Aura is a concierge-level service that offers both medical injectable treatments and also treats the mind, body, and soul. Dr. Emma, thank you so much for joining us today. Can you tell our viewers a little bit more about yourself?
I'm a mother of four. I've been married a really long time to a wonderful man. We just rounded out 34 years of marriage, a great partnership, great friendship, and at time and time a little sparring, which is okay. I am an advanced practice nurse, and I hold my doctorate, as I've shown in some of my Instagram posts. And I'm soon to be a grandmother for the first time, which I'm really excited about. And I retired from critical care, mostly cardiothoracic surgery of my career. And I am now, well, actually I took a year off to just travel and sleep and rest and recover. And then I found myself kind of needing to do something else. So thanks to my kids and some of their friends and some of the experiences that we've had with consults in either dermatologist's office or aesthetic injectable type consults, it always left me wondering a lot of things and questioning a lot of things, wondering why things weren't being explained more, or why more precautions weren't advised, or maybe things seem too rushed, like too fast, for something so serious. So I said, well, I can't change everything, but I can be part of the new wave and make a change and try to have an impact on the profession.
Moxie Aura is all about inspiring wellness and offering a more radiant, lifted, softer version of yourself. What are your thoughts on the perception of aging within aesthetics?
For a long time, I had my age posted on my Instagram. I own it. I think that that's also part of a culture that I'd like to change on, about aesthetic injectables. My birthday is coming up July 13th, and I will be 53. Due to social media, the young generations are being influenced by a lot of trends. And again, going back to what I initially said, with every small change or every trend, there's an added risk. The flip side of that coin is that there is a risk. So when clients come to me, I always try to point out all their beauty, all the positive things. And that's one of the big foundations of why I really own my age. I always tell them, I have a little bit of Cleopatra line right here by my eye. But guess what? I have laughed a lot in my life, and I am really proud of that. I smile and I try to find the joy in things, and that's earned me those lines. And I like them. I don't want to erase them. But as going forward, I want to make sure my skin looks good. I want to be hydrated. I want to stay active and keep my heart healthy. I want to, stay just mentally sharp. I want to stay engaged. So I'm not 21. I'm not 31. I lived those years, and they were really good years. But you know what? I'm closer. I'm over 51, and I'm getting closer to 61, and I represent my ancestry. I represent my life path, and I'm just happy about it. And I'm not trying to do anything drastic to change it. I just want to own it and kind of hit a little cruise control going forward. Everything is the perspective, right? And so when I do, I've had clients that have, a big scar through their eyebrow, and when we're talking, they're like, oh yeah, and then they bust out laughing, and they're like, that's the time I was riding, with my brother on his bike. He took a turn, flew over the handlebars, tell this big story, and then they start cracking up laughing. I'm like, look, see that one scar that you were so worried about? Look how much laughter when you really think about it. Don't be so harsh about it. And so then they giggle and laugh. Yeah, so as women get a little bit, older, our skin kind of gets a little bit more, loses some volume, and you get some little side wrinkles and all. Everything I tell them, you're not going to rewind the clock to 21, but we can refine those angles, bring up some support, add some architecture, and do it over time, and not be, just from, one day to the next and be so extreme. Let's go soft and just gentle, and that helps them with their budget. It helps them trust me and know that I'm not, trying to max out and, a ticket at the end of the day. And it's been great. It's been great. My clients right now are just like, hurry up and reopen. We're waiting for you. So it's been great. Who I have right now as my clientele, they're super supportive, super understanding of my caution, and I'm happy about that.
What are some hot trends that you're noticing right now?
One of the big ones that I'm asked about is threading, and ladies are really wanting that cat eye look. That is something that I am not doing, but I do have several colleagues that I would trust and that I know will do a really good job. So I'll refer anyone with that inquiry out to them, because I definitely believe collaboration over competition is super important. And just as I know, if they would get a client that only spoke Spanish and had a lot of questions or needed things clarified, I am their person. And so we always help each other. The other trend I've seen, noses. Noses is another one. The non-surgical Tinkerbell nose or European style of nose. I've seen that, and I've been cautious over that. That is also something that I do not do.
In our age of selfies and filters, we're looking at the face a lot more often. Are you seeing trends or maybe even requests from your patients for a more chiseled cheek or a defined jawline or a structured chin? Are you seeing any of that?
It is. So I think for the right demographic and the right timing of things, it is important. And also the quantity or the amount, the total volume is important. So no one wants to walk out of an office feeling, that they're completely overfilled, or wake up the next day or like not recognizing themselves. So I always caution my clients, again, that we're going to proceed slowly. I always like to start off with a lower amount of volume to offer some scaffolding up in the cheeks and bring back an angle. Offer a little bit of jawline, sometimes even in the chin, offer some elongation. There with fillers, anything that has to do with the laxity of the skin or is the fillers, and anything that has to do with wrinkles, then we offer neuromodulators. So anything like a Xeomin, a Botox, a Dysport, I do offer all those products. And I have clients come back within 2 weeks after their initial treatment, because everyone uses up these products at a different rate. And at that 2-week follow-up, it allows me to refine any area. And, we take pictures and just really follow my clients very closely. So it's usually the treatment, and then usually within 3 nights, I give them a call and see how they're feeling, see how things are going, and I go over their aftercare instructions one more time. And then in 2 weeks, I physically see them once again, and then we do any refinement, and then we schedule out their next appointment.
What inspired you to develop Moxie Aura as a concierge-level aesthetic and wellness service rather than your traditional brick and mortar?
I transitioned out of a brick and mortar setting because my children were grown. Honestly, that's what it came down to. I had earned my terminal degree. My husband had retired from the military after 28 years of active duty service. Our 4 children had graduated from college, and now they were grown, tax-paying, productive citizens of the world. So I could finally take a break. I honestly, that's what it came down to. I've kind of been doing something, hustling, doing something since I was about 15 years old. So it was time. And so I left the hospital. I worked at a major military hospital for many, many years. And although I loved it and I loved the care we provided, it was the hardest, most beautiful work I've ever done in my whole entire life. But I needed to step back and just finally take some time for myself, which I did. But I think I can best describe it, you know, when you retire early, I've described it as, imagine yourself at school and, you know, recess is coming up, you know, and you're just looking forward to going out on the playground, seeing all your friends, kickball, playing on the swings, doing all that good stuff. And you get out there and you're having a great time, everything's happening, and then the bell rings and all of those friends have to go back in and you're out there by yourself. It's still the swings, it's still the ball, it's still stuff. It's just not as much fun when you're out there by yourself. So I really, really had to just hone down what was I going to do. I knew I really didn't want to return to hospital work. I needed to find something that could allow me to be creative, artistic, and most importantly, have command of my time and have freedom. And so that's that's how Moxie Aura was born. So Moxie Aura, a very long time ago, I had a patient in hospital after a very, very big emergency. We, as a team, saved her husband's life, and I came back and someone said something a little sharp to me, and I'm usually pretty mild-mannered, but I let them know that I would not be spoken to that way, and I responded, and she was witness to this. And later on, she came and she said, you know, I love you. You've just got such great moxie. And I looked at her and I didn't know what to say. I didn't know whether to be mad, insulted, or say thank you. But I stepped away and I looked it up, and I just love the significance of that word. And it feels good when you say it. Moxie, M-O-X-I-E, just cool. And it's just something that you can't describe, but you understand that you've been through something. You know, you have some chutzpah, some strength, some inner strength in you. And so I really appreciate that. So when I look at myself in the mirror, that is something I want to see in me, Moxie. Now, Aura is just as we understand it. It's something that's intangible, something that surrounds you, something that, you know, glows your essence. And to me, I interpret that as that's your ancestry. That's something that you carry through your bloodline, and you can't describe it, you have it. So Moxie Aura to me is significant for how I live my life.
How did you transition from critical care at a military hospital to now being within aesthetics?
I like to say that the more you know, the more you fear. So again, my background was in emergency medicine and cardiothoracic surgery, critical care as a whole. So I really wanted to know before entering this platform that I could enter in the safest way possible, not only for me professionally, but also for my clients. You know, I needed to know that I could look them in the eye and attest to them that I did the right things the right way, didn't cut corners, and I'm here for them. Like I needed that. So through that, I contacted several of my friends throughout the United States and just put it out there that I was interested in doing this. If anyone had an opportunity for me to come in and learn, you know, observe, you know, an apprenticeship, anything, anything, I'm open. I'll get there. The very first couple that came in, the loves of my heart, Dr. Tang Tran and his wife, Mrs. Rosalie Cartwright. They're out in San Jose, California. They own a beautiful center. It is aesthetics and it is overall general primary care. It's just a gorgeous all-in-one center. and their Instagram handle is True You. Um, and he was the first one that just said, get here, get here. He gave me a date. He said, be here, like, do not hesitate, do not pass go and collect $200, like, get here. And then when I got there, his wife Rosalie was like there waiting for me, and they housed me, they fed me, they trained me. They were just amazing, like without hesitation. Like, they let me answer what felt like a million questions. I was keeping them up all night just with all my questions of things that I was trying to sort out. He had a huge training day, and I was right there on his arm, you know, just like learning all these great things that he does. You know, he does do those beautiful European nose techniques. So if you need somebody out in San Jose, he's your person. And then Mrs. Rosalie Cartwright, his wife, showed me the business side, which is super important for a practice, and just helped me understand, you know, inventorying and, you know, what things I needed to be cautious of. You know, especially there can be rogue vendors with items that are not pharmaceutical grade, at least FDA approved, United States approved products. And so she was the one that she's just my angel. I love her. I love them both. They're just like amazing. So I spent a lot of time with them, and again, they just answered everything that I needed to at least get me over the hump of my trepidation. Next came Dr. Alexander Sinclair. He's in Beverly Hills, California, a world-renowned plastic surgeon. He does things, he does beautiful, beautiful things. But anatomy was one of the things that I really wanted to make sure that I understood from the inside out. So who better than someone like him to invite me to his operating room for a facial feminization surgical procedure. And so I really got to see from bone all the way through every single layer in vivo through his cases, and it was mind-blowing. So, you know, he kind of teased me. He's like, you know, you've been in those open chests, and you've seen a beating heart and stopping hearts, and you've seen the lungs, and you've seen all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but you're up here, you know. I mean, he does whole bodies, but it's a whole different thing in the face. And you know, I have zero ego, but I was fangirling him as well, and just he was so patient. Just let me understand, work things out in my mind, because sometimes I you know, I had a notion of something that was said in a lecture, or a notion of something that was presented in the book, but I was having a little difficulty connecting it there in vivo. But then he very patiently, with the scalpel, you know, with tissue in hand, showed me exactly where it was, and you know, from an aerial view and a side view, like what I needed to know to clarify that morsel. And it was like, bam, there it is. I got it. Now I understand. It was just, I can't even tell you what it was like to have that experience. Just amazing. And I've had others too. I mean, I've gone to trainings by Dr. Jonathan Sykes, also in Beverly Hills. He taught a wonderful cadaver course, and he kept it in really small groups. I again was able to connect the dots to multiple layers. You know, aesthetics is something that is complex. I know a lot of people look at things on Instagram, and especially some novice nurses might say, okay, you know, I don't want to be bedside, and I want to do this because it looks so easy on Instagram, on social media. But I can tell you, you know, I'm someone here with over 25 years of experience, a hospital experience, you know, at a very high level. And I take every opportunity to train, retrain, learn. I watch every presentation that I possibly can. Someone online that I admire very much, Dr. Tim Pierce, he's another one that he's just a boss, just showing protocols and just the fine moments of thinking, critical thinking of in the moment if something is happening, what to do. Actually, I think you can see back here, I have his anatomy poster here. I've had that since day one. It's just exhilarating. And you know, Rana Kennelly out in Chicago, another one that's just amazing as a teacher, you know, to be cautious and to see joy in every day. Locally, I have my gal pals here, Erica Berry. She's just a phone call away. She was the one that here locally, just like I'm your, you know, she's a very, very experienced injector. You know, she presents and teaches from all the major pharmaceutical companies. And I have her cell phone, and she said she openly and warmly, sincerely invites me to give her a call or message her if I ever feel that I need her help or I need her to clarify something. She just has come through. And then I can't say enough about Nurse Megan of Nurse Megan Aesthetics. She was also my day one here locally in Northern Virginia. I was like, maybe I'm too old, or maybe, you know, maybe I'm too strict, or maybe I'm too cautious. She's like, shut up. You need to do this. We need you. We need you. And you know what? It was nice. It's been frightening at times, you know, again, because the more you know, the more you worry about. But it's also been really beautiful. I'm surrounded by so many angels in my life that just want nothing but the best for me and want me to be successful. And I try to pass it back and be the same.
I love that you mentioned paying it forward. Why is that expression an important practice for you?
It's super important. I had a random thing happen just a few days ago. I had some Moxie Aura emergency kits to mail out, and I went to the post office, and it was maybe 4 minutes to closing. I don't know how that happened, but I was determined to get this box out. And as I was going in, the clerk, she recognized me, and I had everything boxed up and ready. She recognized me, but then there were two young kids, and they had a long envelope that they needed to send out. And she said they needed more postage, and they needed like $1.25. And neither one of them had $1.25. They were going through their pockets and everything else. And I was like, here, and I was like, here, just add it. I'm gonna mail this box, just add it to my tab and take their letter. Because they were just like, please, it has to go out today. And they're like, ma'am, what can we do for you? I'm like, just pass it forward. Just, that's all I ask. Just remember somebody helped you when you needed it just a second. Take a second to help somebody else and pass it forward. Mailed off my box, came back out, and these two young men were helping an older lady with her walker. I guess she had gotten the walker discombobulated or something to get it in her car. And they were there, and they had like these little tools, and they were moving the little gadgets, and then they ended up putting it back in. And I turned around and I just kind of winked at them, and they gave me a thumbs up, and I was like, that's it.
What are you the most passionate about in aesthetics?
First and foremost, education, and I think that leads into it. So education of myself for my practice, and you know, aesthetics is constantly evolving. So I like to stay up to date with current modalities and educating my clients. So whether that means, you know, the do's and don'ts and repeating them multiple times and giving them written instructions, and then calling them, you know, a couple nights after they've had a treatment and reminding them again of those is super important. The consult itself, as I said before, I like to point out all the positive things, you know, educating them that we are not dialing back the clock 30 years, but we are going to add some support, some scaffolding, and just emphasize all those beautiful points and soften those areas that perhaps they're not so happy with. I also like to show them the products, you know, when I reconstitute in office, you know, whichever product I'm using. If it's a neuromodulator, I like to show them the box. I like to make sure they see the hologram on it. I like to show them the expiration date. I show them the syringe and the full quantities that I'm using. And I tell them that, again, because in now social media and, Groupon and offers and newsletters, people are offering a lot of sales, and they should know what they're buying, and be an informed consumer, an informed patient, and understand that this is a medical practice. This is not, buying a hot dog. It's important that they know. So I, again, show them the boxes, and I like to just make sure that they understand what they're getting, and that the products that I'm using are pharmaceutical grade, medical grade, and FDA approved. What I find with my Hispanic clients specifically is many times they were afraid to ask questions because they didn't want to sound dumb, or they didn't know how to phrase the question. So I always say, you have me here. I'm here for you. So please, your face is my calling card. I want to make sure that it's just as beautiful as I intended to soften and highlight. So let's do this together. And so once they understand that, and once I answer all their questions, they're just like, oh my gosh, no one's ever explained it. They're just like trying to get me in and out the door. I always feel rushed. Well, it's not going to be that way here. Maybe I might even talk a little too long because I'm trying to make sure you understand. But that's what I'm passionate about. I like to see diversity in aesthetic medicine, and I can relate this back to a time when I start noticing some hyperpigmentation in my own skin from all my days in California, skating in the sun. It caught up with me, and we didn't know what we know now about sunscreen. I mean, we just didn't know. But I wanted to see if I was a candidate, maybe for laser, or maybe for some sort of injectable. At that time, I didn't know. And I was told that that was just part of my aging, and there wasn't anything that they could do for me. And I remember being really ticked off about that. I kind of felt unheard, and I didn't like that, and it stuck with me. And later, as I've heard other clients now coming through, and now that I'm speaking with them and listening to their story, it's still happening. And so I can't change everybody, but I can definitely be that person that begins some change. I know for Moxie Aura specifically, I'm very passionate about inclusivity, diversity, and I that's like a hard, non-negotiable.
How do you inspire inclusivity at Moxie Aura?
I think just because you look a certain way, or just because someone perceives you a certain way, everyone walks a different life path, and they've survived different things. They've come through challenges in different ways. They've had obstacles in different ways. And so I listen, and that's super important. Many times clients will tell you their story. Once they trust you, they'll tell you a story. And my only job is to listen and be respectful of that.
In what ways has our current healthcare climate made you reflect on your long-term business goals? Have you had to pivot or make any sudden changes?
I would say that the aesthetics portion of the actual services of the aesthetics portion of Moxie Aura, Aesthetics and Wellness, stopped in February, the day after Valentine's Day, the 15th specifically. I was watching World Health events and listening to some of the overseas news reports and following publications on the CDC. And I felt that, again, with our international community here in Northern Virginia, it was evident that COVID was already here. So I did not want to put any of my clients, and not myself, at risk of just adding more complexity to a very horrible situation that I already saw evolving as a pandemic. Now, with the wellness portion of Moxie Aura, I was able to offer wellness and primary care appointments and do that on a concierge basis. Eventually, one of my dear friends out in Manassas, Virginia, who owns his own private practice, he mostly offers services to marginalized people. So people that do not have insurance, and a large majority of them do not speak English. He called me, asked me if I could come help, and I was like, gear up, I'm there. So for Moxie Aura Wellness, I was able to offer my medical services to the community of which I love very much and who I feel part of, and do that in Spanish for a majority of the appointments. Saw lots and lots of clients, patients from February through the peak of COVID here in Virginia through June. On my off time, again, part of the wellness is offering avenues to keep mind and spirit wellness. And so for me, I kept up on my Instagram, on my stories, just showing quiet moments, whether it be canoeing, just sounds of water, a beautiful sunset, a full moon, fishing, gardening, a beautiful flower on a morning walk, music, all those things to keep your mind rested and to just hopefully inspire some people to just take a break from all the media and all the horrific news that's just flashing before our eyes, every single second. You have to replenish your mind and let your spirit just kind of calm down and just recharge. So I kept up on my social media in that way, and I further went on to webinars and any educational opportunities available to me for aesthetics, which many people all over the world stepped up and really offered so many webinars, educational webinars at no cost, which I am so grateful for, to everyone that took time out of their own lives to help us get, all of us providers get through that. And then I also focused on my Moxie Aura emergency kit, and I had great orders and, worked on refining some of the monograms and customizations, and was able to do that. And that's kind of what I did.
Speaking of the Moxie Aura emergency kit, what was the idea that inspired this creation, and did you think it would kick off so well so quickly?
Getting back to when first starting out and thinking about entering aesthetic injectables arena, I looked around with all my worries and concerns, and coming from my critical care background, I felt that it was super important to approach aesthetic medicine with many of the same protocols that we use in an in-hospital setting. And so one of the things that all of us medical providers, all of us, anyone that's a licensed medical provider has grown up with is a crash cart. Everyone has to be CPR certified at minimum. And everyone through that certification has learned to work with a crash cart. So I looked around to see where I could buy my aesthetic crash cart, and I couldn't find one. So I, again, being a concierge service, I realized that there's no way I'm going to roll around a huge trolley. I'm not in a bricks and mortar environment, so I'm not going to have that huge cart to go around. But I could make something. I could do something that could be portable, useful, important in practice, and be that one-stop kit for registered aesthetic injectables. So that's what I did. And that's how she was born.
What's all included in the kit?
Well, first of all, it comes only right now in 2 colors. I have the turquoise blue, and I have one in magenta. The turquoise blue one is kind of cool here because you can see it has my Moxie Aura on it. And the kits, once you choose which color you like, I ask you to send me your logo, and 90% or better of the time I can get I can get your logo on it. And it's a very small space to work on, but I think it looks super awesome, you know, right there branded for you. Now I'm going to take this one here, the magenta one. And first of all, there are no drugs in any of my kits. I did a lot of research into shipping and, you know, shipping boxes with drugs in them, and state to state, the laws are just vary so much. And there would be no way for me to control the temperature if I were to ship these with drugs. So I give you all the bones, and then I give you diagrams for each section, because it's the main kit, and then there are 3 drawers on the inside. So with that, I give you diagrams on what to put in each drawer and how to use it effectively. So let me move this blue one back. We'll start out with this hot pink one. And so at the very beginning, this opens up, and you can see. And this first one, I include a CPR mask. So again, super important. And some people might think that that's overkill, but I think that if somebody has either an allergic reaction or a true anaphylactic, full-blown anaphylactic reaction, that includes the airways, so you need to be prepared. I include the pocket Snellen, the eye chart, and I even include a really nice light. You'll see this one's pink. It goes with the pink box. I offer the batteries, and I even give you a backup lens, the bulb for your pen light, because if somebody is using fillers and has a possible occlusion, you know, visual change, it's super important that as providers we offer some objective information as we document. And so offering, you know, the visual acuity at the moment of, you know, an event is super important. In here, so we have gloves. I have a cold compress. Again, you know, sometimes it's super helpful. I have some of this tapes, different types of tapes. And then I have trauma shears, just because, again, this is an emergency kit. When we get to first aid, you don't know how an accident could present itself, so having good scissors is important. I have 3 types of hemostats, and these are also super useful with some of the vials of neuromodulators to decap them. These are pretty helpful too. And then I have a really nice drape, so that if you know, right from the jump, if you need a surface, whether you'd even, you know, if you're working on the floor, if there's an emergency, you can drape this out and start laying your stuff right on, and it's ready. And you have your gloves there, and you're ready to work. I have it marked here. This is, so usually boxes of epinephrine come in boxes about this size. And so I made a note here. This is where your box of epinephrine would fit. It goes right there. That's your diagram guide. For a customized box, I usually also include a second monogram on this upper lid, just because, why not? That looks really nice. Now, in this front carrier, what's nice is everything is organized, and again, one stop. So this is the first aid kit, a little bit of smaller size. We click it open, and we have several different types of band-aids, alcohol swabs, some of the finger rubbers, you know, any of the cuts. We have steri strips. I have a bunch of swabs, 2x2s. Now in here as well, I include information of what to include in this pocket as far as medications. And so one of them is valcyclovir. So sometimes clients, especially if they're coming in and it looks like maybe they come in for a consult, but now they have some herpetic outbreak on their mouth, that really needs to be treated before the provider starts any treatment. I also indicate they should use insert some Neosporin spray I like the little travel size. It's a little spray. Again, if this is the first aid, once you clean the site, use foreign spray. Arnica montana, it's the tablets. Again, that's anti-inflammatory and it's natural, so it's nice. Arnica cream. And then I also advise for some bacitracin cream. So again, another antibiotic. So again, it's labeled for you. There's no guessing. And of course, there's a lot of flexibility. You can include, each provider can include whatever they'd like, but this is first aid specific. The next one is an anaphylaxis kit. So this one is a little bit more serious. And this one has more details. So this one does include syringes and some of the more commonly used needles that are used for the actual product. So something like an injectable Benadryl, that's what that would be used for. Again, I include a diagram of the box and what should be included here. And I also, in this front area here, recommend that you put in some of the normal saline, the bacteriostatic normal saline, so that if there's an anaphylactic reaction, you pull this out, you have your normal saline, you have your Benadryl, injectable and chewable, your syringes are here, occlusive dressing, like it's all here. Once you stop the medication portion of it. Lastly, make sure this is level. The table is completely level there. This one is our dermal filler complications kit. Now this one, I incorporated a protocol that was developed by Dr. Tim Pierce, whom I already mentioned I love to pieces. He's just a brilliant practitioner and has a beautiful way of teaching, and more specifically teaching critical thinking within this arena. So this one I'm really proud of. You open up and it has several sections. Let's see if you can still see it here. All right, so this one, we're going to open some of the innards. So this one has some syringes, some alcohol wipes, again, a few more drapes for work surfaces. If something happens and you think you have an occlusion with the filler, a minimum of 8 vials of Hylenex is needed in any practice if you're doing fillers, but that product needs to be refrigerated. And in the moment of an emergency, a provider could have a little brain cramp and like, whoa, where's my drug? But there's a marker here that says Hylenex in the refrigerator. So it's pocketed, it's labeled multiple times. I have a little pull out here. This is if there are visual changes. So this is an emergency, and you flip it up. You take out the information, and boom, there is an emergency reversal protocol. Okay. And then there's also a note, again, from me reminding you that you need to do your objective assessment, eyes, do a full strength assessment, document any changes, be sure that you're taking steps to manage an emergency, such as one with dermal fillers. If you suspect it's eye specifically, visual acuity is changed, prior to injecting, you need to form a partnership with an ophthalmologist in your area, close to you, that offers 24-hour services 7 days a week. Call around, call until you find somebody, inform them of the type of services that you provide, explain to them what your need is. If there were an emergency, if I had somebody with an occlusion, are you my person? Many times they're yes. What is the number I call? If they don't answer at that number, what's the second number I call? What do you need from me to send with the client? What should I, you need to work these things out before you ever stick a needle in anyone with filler, putting filler in anyone's face. And that's my humble opinion. So with that, this gives a protocol, and this is where you would insert your provider's contact information, and you do it in duplicate. One will always stay with your kit, and one will be ready for the patient. You know, they'll have the doctor's name, their location, the telephone number. You can include notes from your objective assessment, send them on their way. You've already formed that relationship with that ophthalmologist, that office, and then they know how to contact you, or they have your after hours number, and then you're ultimately making sure that patient is safe and that they have the best, most timely care in an event of an emergency. And then again, I always include a diagram of what to fill each portion of this kit specifically in of prescribed drugs. And then there's also a protocol, again, from Dr. Tim Pierce, whom I totally trust. Now this is for elective reversals of any type of filler. So this protocol is here, and what decisions you have to make to safely do that. It's not simply just sticking a needle and making filler go away. There's some steps that have to go with that to help that go safe and just have the best results possible. So all that's included, and what I like again, the toes in, snout set. So if you're in an office environment, it depends on the size of the office, but usually one kit per 4-room office is enough. And it's nice because if you have a primary office, this sits where everyone can get it. Now in bigger practices, I've had practices that have ordered 4 because they're monster practices, and their setup is much more like a clover. So in each clover of their office, they have a Moxie Aura emergency kit, so that members in that area can have the best access to it. Again, I didn't think it would take off, but I was filmed while I was training with Erica Berry, formerly Injector Bunny. So she filmed me. She, again, with so much experience, just really just was impressed by it and just couldn't say enough of good things about it, and said, with everything that she's done and her travels around the United States to train, it didn't exist. And she's like, you have to do this. You have to make it available. And sure enough, she featured me, and my email blew up. It's been great. And it's been great that practitioners at all levels are understanding the importance of it. So may you never, ever, ever have an emergency. No one wants it. But if you do, you have what you need all in one spot. And I always tell people to make sure that they're looking over things, get just like we do in the hospital again with the crash cart. That crash cart is inspected every day. Perhaps in an aesthetic clinic, it can be done every other day. But everyone that comes through, that needs to be even part of their orientation in an aesthetic practice. Everyone from, the front desk person that welcomes people to the last person that does the final teaching with the client. Everyone should know where their emergency box is, so that if someone says, I need help in here, or get me the emergency kit, they run, they grab it, get it there.
How can our viewers go and purchase their very own emergency kit?
They can drop me an email. I am at doc@moxieaura.com. At this time, I do require a $100 deposit to initiate the production of a kit. And once I receive the deposit, contact information, I'll send a message so that we can refine the details, the color, your logo, the colors of your logo, how many kits do you want. We just kind of go over all those details. And right before I put the logo on, I even contact you one more time, and I'll send you usually a photo of it, because I actually recently just had this where somebody ordered the blue, and once I finished her logo, And I looked her up on Instagram and I looked up things. I was like, I don't know. It looks really good in blue, but dang, it looks like fire on hot pink. And so I sent her the picture and she was like, hot pink, hot pink, hot pink. I was like, yeah, I thought so too. So we ended up changing it out. So again, because I'm a concierge service, I know I'm lucky in that I do have a little bit more free time, and I love what I'm doing, and so I like what I'm sending out to look good and make you feel good when you have it in your hands. So I just like to make sure it's right, and hopefully this will be something that can be in practices. May you never need it. May you never need it. But if you do, it's right there.
Thanks for joining us again, Dr. Emma. I really enjoyed hearing how you transitioned from a critical care nurse at a military hospital to now the aesthetic and wellness space. Thanks again for your time. And that's a wrap for this episode of ARTV. If you are an aesthetic record user, make sure to log into market.aestheticrecord.com, where you can shop all things aesthetics, from medical devices to PPE and even arnica cream, to make sure that your Moxie Aura emergency toolkit is fully stocked. If you're not an aesthetic record user but wish to join the AR family, visit aestheticrecord.com, where our team is eager to chat with you. If you are a small business doing big things within the aesthetic space and would like to be featured on our next season, email me down below. I look forward to seeing you all very soon, but until then, stay safe and stay healthy.